Hello, hello. Streaming chess. See what's cracking. Nothing much. All right. See if we can get to a 15-15. There we go. That's good. You are self-quarantining or practicing social isolation. Stupid limit system. It's just not interesting. And it's repetitive, and white's not better, and I don't see why people play it. But I mean, this is the system I like the best because it doesn't really allow like the. If you ever play like King's Indian setup, the issue is that they can kind of play knight c3 and try to play e4, and then you kind of have to play d5, and I don't want to play d5 if I'm going to play g6. So, all right, knight c3. So the best move is either bishop. I don't think it matters, but knight b2 or bishop d3, bishop e7. So now I'm threatening knight h5. So now I should play h3, and then you actually play bishop d6. And then they can't play the subtlety with playing bishop e7, making him play h3 is everything I just said goes out the window. But so that they can't play bishop g3 when you play bishop e6. I'm just gonna take this because that's the best move. And then I'll just play knight d7. F3 right away. I was thinking maybe queen g4. I was gonna probably just play castles or g6 in that. Probably just g6 in that case, right? What am I supposed to do here? I think I'm actually supposed to just play b6, bishop b7, queen c7, and castles queenside. So that's what I'm going to do. There's just no reason to castle kingside into his stupid attack, and then I can play like h6 and g. Yeah, but there's no knight e5, so I'm not sure what this is accomplishing. Because that's a pawn, and I guess I'm fine with bishop d7. I guess I'll play a6, and you can play an endgame if you want. I don't see what the point of this was. I mean, I guess it stops me from castling queenside, but again, nothing's happening in the center, so I'm not pressed to castle. All right, I'm not sure why you're playing an endgame where. All right, I need to get out of the way. Can't allow c4 or e4 yet, so I can just play king c. I want to play king c6. Knight g5 is not a thing. I just play rook a, f8, and kick him out with h6. And in fact, if he plays bishop g5, I might even play. Am I actually bothered by c4 or e4? I don't even think I am. I might just play h6 here. e4, I can just play king c7, and that seems to just help me, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna play h6. I'm just gonna limit my opponent's pieces. c4, I think, just improves my piece, improves this bishop. So I guess I would appreciate if my opponent would play that move. Oops, there's a bug on the screen. h4. That makes some sense. Is rook h3 and that kind of stuff doesn't really do anything, so I can just play bishop f8. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna play. Rook FD8. I mean, so one potential plan might be to play Rook G8, so that I can play G5. I just don't see that. I don't see that getting me anywhere. I think I want to expand on the queen side, and potentially try to get d4 in, maybe. So I'm going to play Rook FD8. If my opponent wants to play Rook H3 to this stuff, I can just play Bishop F8, and then you can't attack this with another minor piece. So this is all good. Probably H5. My opponent might try to play Bishop G3 to force me to trade bishops, which I guess that makes sense. Gotta figure out where I want my king. Probably on E8. C4. I mean, I'd at least play E4 to undouble your pawns. Yeah, I think I'm just a lot better now. Because now I can scoop this with I can take this with my bishop, hit their A pawn, and now I can start pushing my queenside majority, and my opponent's kingside pawns don't do anything. If he plays B3, I'm just gonna play A5. And on A3, I'm going to play Bishop B3. So my opponent probably should play King B1. Yep. But now I think I can just start pushing. I don't want to be too quick with C4 because it's going to give him the D4 square. Oh, but you know what I can do? I can just do this. I can just cash my bishop pair in, weaken my opponent's structure. And I'm not even going to take this pawn because I don't want to allow counterplay with Rook D6. I'm just going to play. Actually, do I even care about that? Rook B8, and then I can just kick him out anyway. Yeah. All right. That's pretty. Yeah, that's just free. So I kind of priced in. I kind of have to take that, but otherwise Rook D8, and if he trades, it's a winning endgame for me. Well, I'm gonna play Bishop E7 to keep my opponent out. And so even if my opponent still had the H pawn, it's basically a winning ending because I can just trade rooks and then start advancing my majority, and my opponent can't create a pass pawn on the king side. And so I can create my majority, tie him down to my queen side pass pawn, and then start trying to infiltrate on the king side. So Rook D8. My opponent should not trade, but Rook D8 serves the purpose would have served the purpose if he moved his rook away of allowing me to get his rook off the d file and then bring my king up. That said, it's an endgame, so I'm still going to bring my king up. Don't need to push this pawn quite yet. I can just get my king into the game. And, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't move pawns, but if I was trying to hold this, but I mean, it's really hard. I mean, my opponent is just down 2 pawns and dead lost, but a good technique is to not move pawns when you're defending, and especially not cripple your own piece like that. Okay, e4 makes sense because it keeps my king out of d5, so that's a good pawn to move. Let's play d5. I can get away with g5. Yeah, that seems to be good. He plays f5. I actually am going to take so that I can play king d5. Play bishop d8 so I can come in with check potentially. But really my plan is just start pushing. Now the threat is h4. h4, bishop h2, h3. If he moves his king over to try to keep an eye on this pawn, then I can come in with c4. So yeah, but now I can just play bishop h4 and penetrate with my bishop. Now the threat is bishop f2 and h4 and bishop g3, which is winning. So I think it would have given myself some headaches had I played h4 prematurely, because then when I play h3, you can play bishop g3, and how do I get my bishop in? Right? I guess I played bishop b. Oh no, I played bishop b6, and the threat is c4, and on bc4 I can play bishop g1, and then you can't stop h2. But this works too. Well, a4 is going to help me. Play bishop f2. If he takes, I suppose BA4 is another interesting option, but I just didn't want to let his king get to C4. Although, actually that doesn't matter, because I'm just, this pawn's queening. So I probably should have just played BA4. But I'll have another, if he plays AB, I guess I'll play, King B5, just because then I can threaten to come in with King B4. Really seeing anything that could potentially trouble me in my attempt to win this game. Set is fine. King D3, I can just play H4. Now the threat is bishop F2 again. And then I get to play bishop G3, and then the bishop has to move, and then H3, and the threat is H2. So. Because the bishop and the pawn can protect each other, a bishop and a pawn by itself can beat a bishop. Unlike a knight and a pawn will not beat a knight. Without the king will have, the pawn will need the king's support in most cases. Yes. However, now I can just push. And I'm easily queening on the queen side. Now, say my opponent had a, I guess I just play king takes, because then this pawn's more remote. Say my opponent had a pawn on H4, and I still had like my the king side pawns. I would just have the same approach. I would start pushing this pawn, and then instead of, well, now I'm going to ignore that because I don't want to allow my, instead of my opponent a pass pawn. Instead of tying him, instead of just winning immediately with the two remote pass pawns, he would be tied down to this pawn, then my king would come over and win these pawns, and then I'd queen one of these pawns. But as it is, my opponent just dropped his H pawn, so this is faster. Yeah, well, I guess I'm just going to play bishop b2 because my opponent's running out of dark squares. He can, I control all the dark squares on the way to the queening. So this stops bishop c1. If king d2, I just play king d3. Don't want you to play king c2. And now I don't think my opponent can even sacrifice for this pawn, because I think if he tries to, which is, yeah, well, no, yeah, no, he just can't, because he can't stop a3. Well, 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 I'll play a3. Okay, why, yeah, are we, okay, GG. Ooh, this is good. Even 1 second increment, it's fine. What I don't want is to lose because I run out, like I have a, like trivially winning in game. I just can't physically make the time control. So we can get a Benko Gambit. I need to start playing e4 a little bit because otherwise this is going to get redundant. This is, my opponent wants to play the, I thought they were supposed to play knight e4 here to play this opening. I think they want to play what's known as the hawk. Alright, I'll play knight. I can never remember. It's definitely not knight c3 because he plays knight e4 and then I get the double pawns. I thought he was supposed to play the move order. I thought instead of queen a5 check, he was supposed to play knight e4, and then when you play knight d2, he plays queen a5 check. I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And then when you play f3, they play like knight d6 of all things. Here, since he played queen a5 check first, what I'm not, because this is such a rare and bad opening, what I don't remember is whether or not I'm supposed to play knight d2 anyway, and then he plays knight e4, which would transpose, or if I'm supposed to play bishop d2. And I think the answer is I'm supposed to play bishop d2, because now if he plays queen b6, I can play queen c2, which stops knight e4. And then I can play knight c3 and e4. That seems right. And then if he like retreats his queen, okay. I thought that I would just still play knight c3, but now I can play queen c2, right? And that defends this. And he's basically playing a Benoni, where I've played queen c2, which is not tragic, and then he's played queen b6, which is bad. All right, e4. I mean, okay. I mean, he's made this bad move. These are all relevant moves in a check Benoni. So I'll play bishop d3 because that's the only square that bishop goes to in the check Benoni. Which is par for the course. I'm just going to play a3 and b4 and call this a day. Alright. Clearly wants to do this kind of stuff. Still gonna play b4. So definitely want to get things going on the queen side. Can also still try to play on the king side. So I'm gonna castle first. Let's see what my opponent does. Alright, let's play BC. It's not going to get any better. So if I play f4 here, ef4, knight f4, he just gets to anchor on the e5 square. G3 kind of walks into bishop h3. Actually gonna play, as weird as it looks, knight d1 with the idea of knight e3. Now I think I can play knight g3, and that might force fg6. All right, I'll play knight f5, and then I will be playing. I guess I'll play ef5 if he takes me. I don't think I have to take that. I suppose I could. But I think for now. Oh, if I move my bishop away, he has g6, and then knight e. I can't play knight e3. So I could play h3, bishop d2, queen d2, knight f6. Yeah, I'm gonna take it because if he takes with the knight, I can I can play. Can I play h4 h5? Is that useful? And try to lock down my knight, and then the other interesting idea, I suppose, is to try to maneuver this bishop via a4, which I kind of like that idea too. But let's get rid of this knight for now. That's going to turn off g6 for the time being. Now, can't play f4 yet. But I think I can play queen e2 with the idea of bishop c2. And there's no king h7 because then h4 is gonna pick off his knight. Okay, knight preemptively back to h7. What's the joke with that? I guess I'm just going to play bishop c2 because now you can't play bishop d7 because I snack, and the threat is bishop a4 to. You can't play. He just can't really move his queen because I just eat this. He's gonna have to play bishop f5 at some point, and then I think I can. Well, we'll figure out what to do when he does that. I think I can get my bishop to c6, which is useful. Oh, but yeah, but now just bishop a4. bishop a4. But this is okay. Because he's still tied down here, so now I can start playing on the b file, right? And he's always tied down to this thing. So I think I play rook b3. So I can potentially triple if I even need to. You do that. Well, I mean, what am I supposed to do here? Can't quite play queen b2 yet. Or can I? No, it doesn't work. Okay. Well, I need to play queen c3, queen c2, excuse me. Rook d8. Rook b8 does not work yet. Queen c2. Check. There is knight e7 check, followed by knight c6. And then I can swing my other knight into f5. I think I want to start with f3 first, though. Oh, I can play f. No, I need to get my other knight into f5 so that there's no g6. I have to watch my time as well. There's knight e7 check, king f8, knight c6. I'm going to play f3. It seems like a reasonably strong preventative move. G5. All right, I'm gonna ask you to leave. Okay, now I can play check. Knight c6, and then put my other knight to f5. And there's no knight e4. And eventually, I'm gonna probably jettison the. Now I can play Queen C3 with the idea of Rook B7, right? Check. I just come up, right? All right. Yeah. All right. Rook B7. My knights do a beautiful job of covering all the dark squares. Yeah, I'm just gonna eat that and play knight d6 because that's just it should just be the game, right? And there's check, but it doesn't do anything. King h2, and there's not even queen d4 check to escape. Check. And let's take the free piece. Alright, I just need to queen my pawn. Oh, damn it. I just made things way harder on myself. Very stupid of me. I mean, it's okay, but almost played queen f7. Now I wish I had a 3-second increment. GG. Now you can't push your pawn. Make some pre-moves and then that should win. Alright, I'm up to 4 seconds, so. I'm up to 5 seconds, so this is the game. Can't stop them both. Just for good measure, I'm going to make 2 more pre-moves and take this pawn so that there's not even a hint and I can gain time with it. And then it's trivial, right? Again, I'm just making moves to just gain some time. Check. Check. Checkmate. Yeah, I'll talk. I'm sorry about that. I got low on time, but I will talk markets in the chat. No, get rid of this. I don't want to play with a 1 second increment. So I got really dialed in there on the game and I wasn't able to engage with the chat, but I will talk markets in the chat if that's what someone wants. See if I can get a slower increment or a bigger increment that should help me do that. Excellent. Is this like one of those QAnon guys? No, he's from Vietnam, and Quan is a very common like group of sounds. Longer than 30 years? What for? They're trying to get duration out of the market, not add duration. I like the Samish variation. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to, I don't know why you'd want to, when you have dealers that are already really under stress to finance inventory, and you have the Fed directly intervening on a much larger scale in the repo markets, I think it would be very stupid to try to issue a new security right now. But, I mean, again, Mnuchin is kind of incompetent, so I could see the idiots, you know, who are involved in this administration being like, oh, well, yeah, let's lock in the low borrowing costs. But it's the exact opposite of what the rest of what the Federal Reserve is trying to do right now. So, no, I mean, again, you can never say never with this crowd, but like, I would hope that some people from the New York Fed would be like all over that if they said they wanted to try to do it. But obviously the Treasury has the authority to do what it's going to do. So, but it would be very counterproductive. In fact, I would go farther and say like the Treasury should be issuing like 28 like 3-month bills, nothing longer than 3 months right now. All right, so he's trying to post up there. I'm gonna just play bishop d3. That's fine. I'll play knight g2 later. Normally, when he played, I mean, he kind of had to. He should have played knight d4 here, obviously, and then made me play knight g2 and then traded. And then I still get to play queen d2 and castle's queenside, but at least he gets to trade off a set of minor pieces, which should favor the side with less space. Bishop c2, it's my bad bishop. So again, the person who asked in the chat earlier, which is the bad bishop? It's just the bishop that is the same on the same color squares as your pawns. This is my opponent's bad bishop. So I just, even though it's my bad bishop, I want to preserve pieces. Well, I'm not going to be taking that because he's gets to play knight f5 to d4 then. So I will just castle queenside. And again, I'm going to kick him out with b4 at some point. There's just no rush. So, oh, maybe I actually maybe should have played h3 there, because then oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, f4 is bad. So he needs to not close off the position, because now his play is much slower on the queen side, and I'm not castled there, and now I just get to win on the king side. Now I just get to win on the queen side. Who is saying that the Treasury should be issuing out on the curve? Like, I don't know, maybe like Rick Santelli. He's pretty stupid. I don't think I want to play h4. Yeah, I'll just play b4. I would like you to leave, and then I would like you to try to mate me on the king-queen side, because I move pawns in front of my king, even though I have every single piece in the world over there. G2. So my opponent should not play a5 here. A5 is only going to help me. Yeah, okay, my opponent's pretty savvy then. Or at least... was smart enough to know not to create weaknesses on the queen side. In terms of standing, well, there is no standing repo. That's the problem. The problem is that it's knight b6 is weird. I suppose I want to play bishop. My first intent was to play bishop d3. I think the bishop's a little better there, but I'm going to actually play bishop b3 because I don't want bishop d7 and knight a4 check, because that again allows my opponent to trade pieces. So, which should be prevented when possible. So. I think stigma. So that was like a 1980s thing. I think stigma's gone now. Well, I mean, with the discount window, there was certainly stigma, like back in like the Volcker Fed, and like it was supposed to be like, oh, you're in trouble, you can't get funding, so you have to go to the discount window. But as far as repo facility, I think the Fed's really communicated that there's no stigma with that, and they were trying to do that with the discount window as well, but yeah, I mean, I hope they develop a standing repo, but again, all these things are very slow moving. So what is heartening is that they developed repo facility, like in the 2010s, which are while we're in the 2020s, but in like the mid 2010s and like 2013, 2014, after the crisis had passed, like knowing that was a tool that they would need, and so like they developed that and got it ready, I guess, and did whatever they had to do to launch that, and from like a IT perspective and all that stuff, and like tested it, whatever that means. And so now, yeah, they were able to launch that. But as far, I don't know what they would have to do to like get a standing repo facility up and running. But, I mean, it's something that's needed because they keep having to come back to try to guess like, oh, we're going to offer 100 billion in repo, or we're going to offer 250 billion, or whatever the number is. It would be very much easier if they said, hey, like it would be a good policy rate, right? They could say that's an important short-term funding mechanism that's secured short-term lending is much bigger than it was before the 2008 crisis, and it would be nice if they just said, all right, hey, we will lend to anyone with this collateral at this rate. The private markets can still exist, but obviously they would never be above. So it's a way to set monetary policy, and it would prevent like repo meltdown because the Fed's always there. So I was thinking while I was commenting on that, back to the chess content, whether or not I should play c5 here. I think I'm supposed to. I think my attack's just faster. I'm really happy my king's not on g1, right? So that's kind of the problem with this pawn structure against the Samish. It's why you kind of have to do other things. Because again, the whole King's Indian, like against the classical variation, is, well, yeah, my attack's slow on the king side, but I'm attacking your king. So if you win a couple of my queenside pawns, which you're gonna do, it's inevitable. Black can't defend on the queen side. White just has too many pieces and too much space. Yeah, I thought that was right too. I think he just needs to kind of go for broke here. Although I might get to play d6. I have to figure out what I'm supposed to do. Knight d7. He has to play knight d7. I think the issue is that the position's kind of opening up now, and he's behind in development. Oh, does c6 work? c6, bc6, dc6, knight e4. No, you can't play knight c6 because just queen d5 is winning. But I just think he doesn't have to take it, so. D6. D6, he can't really afford to move his knight. Wait, D6, CD6, knight moves, queen d5. Oh, I could also play knight d5 there, and then that threatens knight c7 check, which is nasty, and there's no castle's queen side, there's no castle's king side, because I have every discovery in the world. At what Lichess rating do players play well? define well. I don't think we should. Well, I mean, roll off. I mean, assuming that it's rolling off. Well, yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, the issue is not the size of the balance sheet. The issue is whether or not that bond dealers can finance their inventories, which the way you make sure they can is by expanding your balance sheet, but it's not. The risk is if you're holding inventory is if you hold duration sensitive, you hold assets that have market risk, which like a 28-day treasury bill has no market risk. So if MBS is just rolling off, like, I mean, again, I don't know, like, there's really no cost to not letting it roll off, so whatever. Like, yeah, I think I'd go ahead and not let it roll off, but under this environment, but we want to make sure that, again, we just want to not have durations. We want to let things calm down, take duration out of the marketplace. Yeah, I think D6 just wins, right? But when rolling off, that's like, it's shrinking your balance sheet, but it's not adding duration to the market in the way actively selling assets is. Like so it's rolling off is different. Yeah, C6. I think he just moves his knight. I think D6 is a winner though. Get D6, CD. Oh, he had knight B6. But I think I can. If I take it. Let me find out how to win this game, then I'll answer some more market questions. And the thing is, Lichess play well. I don't know. Like, I don't think my opponent's played particularly well this game, and he's well over 2100. At least the opening. Maybe he plays in other ways that are well. D6, CD6, CD6, knight. No, he doesn't have knight B6. Hello. I just take his knight, and I get to just play knight D5. He doesn't. I got confused with so I was talking so much about repo and stuff. All right, D6. Knight has to move. Knight C6. Knight D5, and that's just devastating, right? I mean, yeah, there's no way. You can maybe try to play Knight D4, but whatever. I just don't do. I don't even have to take that. Alright, so he sees he just has to give, but I don't, yeah, I mean, I guess he does just have to give a piece, but, I mean, I guess, yeah, I think I was totally winning, but, if you're just giving me a piece for nothing, this is a nice sink. Can I get, I was looking if there's a way to get fancy with takes on C7 and then playing knight B5, but he can trade here, so. All right. You still ain't castling. Fastest way to win. Yeah. No, yeah, he can't allow that. I mean, he had to give me a piece, but so if I play knight d5, queen d5, I like that for several reasons. One being it kind of screws his development up, so I will play knight d5. And I don't dare take with this pawn, even though it's probably good. I mean, e4 check, queen d4, but there's just no reason to even bother calculating this because queen d5 is just winning easily. So I don't think he can play c6 because I think I have just queen d6 and then I have a good pass pawn. Although I think he kind of priced into playing that. I'm gonna play. I guess I actually take with the rook. Does bishop h4 do anything in this position? Probably not, because he just trades. I guess queen g6 works, though. Because he can't play queen f7. If he plays king d8, I just win on the spot with bishop e6. Oh, yeah, this wins. Because now... Now, if he plays king f8, then bishop h4 is winning, right? There's no checks. Queen h4, queen f7 mate. Rook h6, I just play bishop e7 with check. Bishop f6, I eat it. Yeah, bishop h4. GG. Do I think there's negative consequences? So the negative consequences would be if the Congress thought that that meant that the government can run as big a fiscal deficit as it wants without having to care about anything. I'm going to take this game because I like the time control. So I'm going to play e6 and I want to play French defense. So that's not all it would mean. So right now, as you might have seen me say, I was saying that what was going on with like how people were like freaking out with like the Fed hopping into the repo markets, and we're saying like, oh my God, it's welfare for big banks, and instead they should be giving that money to fight coronavirus or whatever. Like, what I was saying is that okay, so we have a system where the Fed is prohibited from lending directly to the Treasury, right? And so instead we have a system, but we need to make sure that bonds sell in the market, because if they don't, then what's the point of having a Fed? Because if like the Treasury, if you know the if bonds don't sell in the market because there's a liquidity squeeze and interest rates skyrocket, well, it doesn't, the Fed loses control of its ability to set interest rates. So the Fed will manufacture the conditions such that bonds will sell in the market, no matter what. All right, and so what you have, the way they do that is they lend to who's involved in the repo markets. It's all it's all bond dealers who are mainly bond dealers who are financing their inventory. And so if you lend money to people who buy and sell government bonds, treasuries specifically, what you're really doing in an economic sense is lending to the Treasury. Okay, it's not, so the question is, why do we have these bond dealers? Well, because when the Federal Reserve Act was written, they, I'm gonna take here because I don't want like these pawns to be moved, because then when my opponent starts, like, if I play HG, then like you can open lines and stuff. So I'm gonna take like this. So we have bond dealers because we didn't want to have the Treasury. Didn't like the optics of the Treasury lending just funding the deficit, right? So instead, it's like, well, no, we have bond dealers, and so first the Treasury gives money to bond dealers, who then immediately turn around and buy bonds, and then then they pledge the bonds as collateral, as a loan, to buy more bonds, and the Fed keeps going with this, right? And so the consolidated government's balance sheet can grow indefinitely under this arrangement. So there's no danger if the Fed just said, okay, well, rather than being effectively mandated to ensure a profitable business model for primary dealers, because we don't like the optics of saying the Fed lent, like, quote unquote, lent to the Treasury, it would be much simpler to just say, okay, when the Treasury wants to run a deficit, and the size and scope of the deficit is the decision of fiscal policymakers. When the Treasury wants to do that, the Fed will just give them the money, and if that's functionally equivalent in an economic sense to lending money first to primary dealers and then having the primary dealers buy Treasury bond debt. And if we want duration, if we want the government wants to sell duration in the marketplace, the Fed or the Treasury itself could sell interest rate swaps, and or be the sell fixed legs of interest rate swaps into the market, and those are and then we don't have to deal with like this repo nonsense of like, well, how much do we offer, and what's an ample amount of reserves, and blah blah blah. Just a much cleaner system. But the danger would be like, do congressmen think that means they can run as big a fiscal deficit as they want without ever having to worry about anything? And that's not the case. So, because you still have to worry, if you run deficits, no matter how they're financed, whether they're financed with money or financed with bonds, it creates the same inflationary pressure, and so you have to worry about that. So that's the issue. So there's no danger per se that doesn't already exist in the system. What does exist in the system now is that it's very lucrative for primary dealers to deal in government debt, and the Fed is basically obliged to make sure that that's the case. And that's, I guess in a democracy, probably granting special privileges to people should be done with great care. Anyway, so here I have a big decision to make. I can play like b5, b4, and try to attack on the queen side and race, or I can try to meet my opponent on the king side, and my opponent's moved lots of pawns and perhaps created some weaknesses. So I was thinking about queen c7. I think the right move is h5 though. To stop me from playing knight g6. I should probably do like ask me. I should probably stream like ask me anything, and like not be playing chess at the same time too. That might be cool. Yeah, I'm gonna play queen c7, and then if my opponent plays like h5, I'm gonna play f5. And at g5, I'm gonna play f4, and I think I can start. Then I can start kind of playing on the king side because he's weakened a lot of squares, and I have lots of pieces that move over there. I just feel like b5 seems kind of slow. Well, all right, that's gonna force f4, isn't it? Excuse me, f5. Yeah, okay. Now if he plays g5, then I can make now that really slows him down on the king side. So then maybe I can play like b4 or b5, excuse me. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's repo is, I mean, it's basically just a way. It basically is a way for the government to lend, the Fed to lend to the government without actually staying within the legal framework of the Federal Reserve Act. Private, I mean, when the Fed enters the repo market, excuse me. When in the private sector, it's because when it's like, if a private entity invests in the repo market, it's more someone with cash looking for a short-term place to park it that's an alternative to treasury bills. So back when the deficit wasn't so high, they kept talking about the bills shortage, which was basically Geithner's fault for walking into the treasury and then in the middle of the crisis choosing to issue a bunch of long-term debt. I think g5 actually was the best move here, by the way, because now I think I get to just play takes and knight f6 and knight f5. definitely trying to play on some weaknesses, some weak squares that my opponent has created. And I have lots of, the thing is, yes, my king is on the king side, but I have lots of pieces that do things on the king side too. Let's play knight f6. Playing kind of fast too. Grab some water here. So, if my opponent retreats, I will be playing knight h5, and then I'll try to play knight f5 and just kind of occupy like the h5 and f5 squares, which are good squares for my knights. My opponent's knights are not doing much. Alright, I'm going to play h6 because while I don't like moving, I'm not crazy about moving the pawns, I have the light squares pretty well covered, and I really want to get my knight to h5. This guy is doing a mighty job of covering the g6 square. Alright, fair enough. I think I need to play rook. Rook f7. Maybe I actually should have played knight f5 because then that threatens to scoop up this. I'm still not threatening a take on f4 yet, but I will at some point. I played knight f4 mainly so that rook f7 mainly just to overprotect g7, which is obviously a clear target in my position. Did he have queen f3 here? Why can't I take? Okay. I can't take it yet. Wait, bishop f4. How many times is this defended? 1, 2, 3. It's attacked 4 times. Knight f4. Knight f4, bishop f4, bishop f4, rook f4, rook g7. So can't take it yet. Does knight f5 get me anywhere? I don't think so. Do I want to play rook af1 or af8? Probably. The other idea is to play king h8 with the idea of knight g8 to f6, but I feel like that allows queen g6, so I think I really need to I need to cover the light squares. Another interesting idea is queen d7 with the simple idea of just shoring up some light squares and potentially playing queen f5, which might be nice. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to be able to win the f pawn yet, but I am going to be able to poke around my opponent's position on the king side. And if I can trade queens, the endgame is really good for me. So. Yes, that's totally expected, but now I can play queen f5. Well, that's unpleasant. I have to take. G6. My opponent plays h5. See, the thing is, if I don't play g6, if I move my queen to h7, I think he just plays h5 anyways. Although I get to play knight h. Yeah, I gotta play g6 here. And if my next move gets to be g5, that doesn't work. Oh, it does work. He picks this off. Get to do some active things with my rooks, though. lost here. Probably should have just played rook AF8. Because there's really not a good discovery with his rook. And then if he plays knight G3, then I can take and play knight F5, and I'm fine. But, alright. Lesson learned. F5. Oh, to play check. No. I'm picking up the E6 pawn though. And if it wasn't for this pawn, I'd have a shot, but I'm just dead lost. I'm gonna play one more. So you just play this because it's fast. We haven't played E4, E5 for a while. Okay, I just 4 knights. ED4, then bishop B4 is the main move. Bishop D3, this is all very well known and also well known to be very satisfactory for black. A3 is a mistake. In the hanging pawn positions, you never want to play A3. Now I'm going to get to play C5, C4, and start pressuring the B pawn. B8. I mean, yeah, this is getting really drawish. Way to get my queen to C5, like queen A5. Does knight D5 work there? Knight D5, knight D5, bishop D. No, it doesn't work yet. So I'll play queen A5. And then the idea is just rook F8. Or I mean bishop f6, excuse me. Again, d4 square is pretty, but I have my counterplay too, so. Ooh. Ooh, I can't play rook b6, but I can play. I can just play. Do I want to play bishop? I'm thinking to play bishop c5 first and then play bishop d6. It's probably worth it. And then I can play rook d6, and then I can swing over like this. My opponent had, I guess he had knight d5 there. That was bad. Thank you. I yeah, and see how much a3 has hurt my opponent because he could never just play b3 to relieve the pressure? Yes, but now... Now I can just take this for free. That would be nice, too. I was looking at knight d1. Alright, yeah, so, I think there's, before, let me switch the scene here.